Welcome, seekers of truth. This is the place where myth awakens, prophecy unfolds, and the hidden becomes revealed. Here, where ancient faith meets revelation, where buried scriptures and hidden wisdom rise into the light. Every day at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, join us for a new revelation that may guide your soul. Subscribe, tap the bell, and share these blessings with your loved ones. Because God aids us in every situation at every time and showers His mercy upon us.
A queen drenched in fire in faith history remembers her by a name whispered in fear, Bloody Mary. But behind the chilling epithet lies a woman born into chaos, betrayal, and relentless struggle for legitimacy. Mary Tudor, the first queen to rule England in her own right, has been painted alternately as a monster, a martyr, and a tragic soul consumed by faith. Her story is not just political, it is theological, psychological, and mythic. It is the story of a woman shaped by her father's obsessions, her mother's faith, and a nation torn between heaven and hell. Tonight, we peel back the layers of myth and legend, searching for the woman behind the blood and the queen behind the curse. Born in the shadow of the king, Mary Tudor entered the world on February 18, 1516, in Greenwich Palace. Her father, Henry VIII, had longed for a male heir. Mary's mother, Catherine of Aragon, gave him a daughter instead. In the glittering courts of Europe, a princess could wield power through marriage. But in England, Mary's gender marked her as fragile currency in the dynastic game. Yet as a child, she dazzled with intellect, charm, and music. She played the virginals, spoke Latin fluently, and impressed ambassadors with her keen wit. But beneath the gilded nursery walls, storm clouds gathered. Henry VIII's desperation for a male heir would shatter Mary's world and England with it. The shattered crown of childhood. When Henry sought to annul his marriage to Catherine, Mary was branded illegitimate. Her beloved mother was banished. She was forbidden to see her. Once adored as the Pearl of England, Mary became a bastard child in the eyes of the court. The trauma was not just personal, it was theological. Henry had broken with Rome, dismantling centuries of papal authority to secure his divorce. England itself became a battlefield of conscience, torn between Catholic loyalty and Protestant reform. For Mary, Catholic faith was not merely religion, it was identity, loyalty to her mother, and the very ground beneath her fractured world.
A nation on fire, Mary's adolescence unfolded as England burned with change. Monasteries dissolved, churches stripped bare, sacred relics smashed. Where bells once rang for Mass, sermons thundered against Rome. For Protestants, it was liberation. For Catholics like Mary, it was desecration. Her letters reveal a young woman clinging desperately to faith, defying even her father's wrath. She refused to abandon the Mass, even at the cost of disinheritance. But the psychological toll was immense. Isolation, illness, and suspicion haunted her. Her father's new queen, Anne Boleyn, despised her. Courtiers whispered she was cursed. Mary learned a bitter truth. Survival required endurance, silence, and iron devotion. The struggle for the crown. When Henry died in 1547, the crown passed to his sickly son, Edward VI. A Protestant child king, Edward's court accelerated the Reformation. Catholic Mass became treason. Mary, now in her 30s, lived as a fugitive in her own land. At her private estates, she continued to hear Mass in secret, an act of defiance against the state. When Edward died in 1553, the throne was contested. The Protestant faction crowned Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, but the people rose for Mary. With fire and faith, she marched on London. Bells rang, crowds cheered. Mary, against all odds, became England's first crowned queen regnant. History shifted. A woman ruled alone. A marriage of fire, but power brought peril. Mary was 37, unmarried, without an heir. Her solution was both dynastic and dangerous. She wed Philip II of Spain, son of the Habsburg Empire, defender of Catholicism. The marriage was unpopular, seen as a foreign invasion of English sovereignty. Yet for Mary, it was destiny, a union to restore England to Rome. to heal her own broken crown. But the marriage was loveless, Philip cold and absent. Worse still, Mary endured 2 phantom pregnancies, her belly swelling, her hopes rising, only for emptiness to follow. The tragedy deepened her obsession with faith. England, she believed, could only be saved by fire. The fires of faith. From 1555, the Marian persecutions began. Protestants who defied her restoration of Catholic Mass were arrested, tried, and burned at the stake. Nearly 300 men and women were consumed in the flames, among them bishops, scholars, and ordinary believers. Their cries echoed across Europe. Mary saw it as purification, a sacred cleansing of heretical corruption. Protestants saw it as tyranny. The propaganda of John Fox's Book of Martyrs would forever brand her Bloody Mary. But was she truly bloodthirsty? Or a woman wielding the tools of medieval monarchy in an age where religious dissent was treason? In truth, Mary's persecutions were not unique. Her father, Henry, had executed both Protestants and Catholics. Her sister Elizabeth would later sign death warrants of Catholics. But history carved Mary's legacy in fire alone. The psychology of a queen. To understand Mary, we must look beyond the executions. She was a woman scarred by rejection, trauma, and isolation. Psychologists suggest her phantom pregnancies may have been psychosomatic, rooted in longing and despair. Her obsession with Catholic restoration was not merely policy. It was the only stable identity she had ever known. To abandon Rome would have meant betraying her mother, her childhood, and herself. In Mary, faith and psychology fused into destiny. She could not compromise, because compromise would mean annihilation of self. Myths and legends. Mary's legend did not end with her death. In folklore, her name morphed into a horror ritual. Stare into a mirror and chant Bloody Mary, and her ghost appears. This myth reflects cultural anxieties about female power, blood, and motherhood. In literature, she became the archetype of the failed queen, the mad woman, the witch. Across cultures, parallels emerge. In Mexico, La Llorona, the weeping mother who haunts rivers. In Slavic myth, the vengeful spirit of women who died betrayed. Mary became part of a universal fear, the dangerous, suffering woman whose pain transcends death. Mary's last days. By 1558, Mary was broken. Philip had abandoned her. England's alliance with Spain dragged her into war, losing Calais, the last English foothold in France. Her health deteriorated. Fever, depression, and likely uterine cancer consumed her. On November 17, 1558, Mary Tudor died at the age of 42. Her last words, it was said, were of Calais and of Philip. But some whispered her heart was buried not in her tomb, but forever bound to her mother and her faith. Legacy and reflection. Mary's reign lasted just 5 years, but her shadow endures. She restored Catholicism briefly, but her persecutions gave Protestantism a martyr's crown. Her successor, Elizabeth I, would seize the narrative, painting herself as the Virgin Queen of Light against her sister's darkness. Yet modern historians revisit Mary with nuance. She was England's first queen regnant, proving a woman could rule in her own name. She was not merely a tyrant, but a tragic figure, trapped between faith and power, destiny and despair. Mary Tudor was no simple monster. She was a mirror of England's own tormented soul. The politics of memory. History is not only written, it is weaponized. After Mary's death, her half-sister Elizabeth I ascended the throne and reshaped England's destiny. To legitimize her Protestant reign, Elizabeth's propagandists amplified Mary's cruelty, ensuring that her legacy burned brighter in infamy than in truth. John Fox's Book of Martyrs, widely read in Elizabethan England, immortalized the Protestants executed under Mary as saints of the new faith. The image of a woman drunk with the blood of the saints from the Book of Revelation was pinned onto Mary's memory. But was this deliberate? Yes. Mary became a foil. Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen of Light, versus Mary, the Queen of Flames. History became theater, and Mary was cast as its villain. In this narrative war, blood was not spilled on the ground, but upon the pages of memory. Cross-cultural queens of blood. Mary's story resonates beyond England. Across cultures, female rulers who challenged gender roles were often demonized. In France, Catherine de' Medici was called the Black Queen, blamed for the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. In Russia, Tsarina Anna was remembered as cruel and cold, though her male counterparts shed rivers of blood. Even in the Bible, Jezebel was immortalized as the archetype of the wicked queen. Patterns emerge. Women who wield power are often cast as monstrous when they defend faith or enforce law with violence. Male rulers are remembered as strong, but women, dangerous. Mary Tudor joins this pantheon of feared queens, not because she was bloodier than kings, but because she dared to rule as one. A queen reconsidered today, historians revisit Mary with new eyes. She was the first crowned queen regnant of England, a precedent that made Elizabeth's long reign possible. She was educated, intelligent, and deeply loyal to her conscience. Her cruelty, though real, was no greater than the men who ruled before and after her. In modern scholarship, Mary emerges not as Bloody Mary, but as Mary the Misunderstood. She was a woman of deep faith in an age when faith and power were inseparable. Her tragedy lies not just in the flames of Smithfield or the loss of Calais, but in the way her name was stripped of humanity. The mirror ritual, the myth, the ghost, it is all a distortion. Mary Tudor deserves to be remembered as more than a curse whispered in the dark. She was a queen who fought to reclaim a broken crown, and in doing so, became a shadow carved into the very soul of England. Beyond the blood, the story of Bloody Mary is a story of memory, of how history brands women. Her father, Henry VIII, killed far more. Her sister Elizabeth executed rebels and Catholics. Yet only Mary bears the eternal name of blood. Perhaps it is easier for history to forgive the sins of kings than the struggles of queens. But if we look deeper, we see not a monster, but a woman who burned with love, with faith, and with tragedy. In the mirror of history, Mary Tudor still stares back at us, pleading, accusing, haunting. Was she Bloody Mary? Or merely Mary, the broken queen?
You've just unlocked another chapter of sacred truth, and your journey with God's wisdom continues. Return tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, when a fresh revelation may brighten your path and strengthen your faith. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a blessing-laden episode. Share this scroll of knowledge with family and friends, for when truth is shared, God's mercy envelops us, guiding and blessing in every circumstance. Your curiosity is our compass. Tell us in the comments which mystery you'd like to explore next, and together we'll unveil it by His grace. Until next time, stay faithful, stay watchful. May God's mercy and blessings be upon you always.